She was last seen walking out of a laundromat, only to never be seen alive again. Hello, true crimerers. This is the case of Corinne Perry. Viewer discretion is advised. Real quick before we get started, as usual, please make sure if you're into true crime and you're a bunch of weirdos like the rest of us, please subscribe to this channel. I tell 3 true crime stories every week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I also tell short form true crime stories over on TikTok, where I've got probably around 3 million or so followers. The link to that will be in the link tree in the description of this video below. Also in that link tree, I sell merch. We ship all over this entire world. Yeah, that's like 5 places, so you're welcome. But that's also linked below, and I also have my Discord server in there. Please be over the age of 18 if you're going to join it, or else you're going to get kicked out of there. And then lastly, if there's a case you want me to cover, just email me. My email is makingatruecrimerertwo.com, also listed below in the description. Just send me the name of the person, where it happened, when it happened. I'll add it to my list. The list is over 5,200 names, so it may be a while before I get to that one, but I will get to it eventually, I promise. But into today's case. Corinne Elaine Perry was born on August 28th, 1965, and that was in CRESTON, Iowa. At the time of this case, Corinne is, I believe, a senior at CRESTON High School, where she is a very popular student. She was very active at school. She participated in any extracurricular activities that she could. She especially loved to act, and she was a part of the, not only the drama department, but she was a part of the school's mime troupe. I didn't have a mime troupe in my high school, and now I'm kind of bummed to find that out. She had just found out that she was awarded a scholarship to Simpson College, a school she was really looking forward to going to. She was going for a double major, psychology and drama. Everybody that knew Corinne said she had a bright future ahead of her. She was going to do something big, probably in drama and acting, because that's something she was just really, really good at. She was described as vivacious, incredibly intelligent. She just had everything going for her. Everything was lined up perfectly for her. When she wasn't working hard with school stuff, she was spending time with her friends and her family. She loved being around people. I believe she had 3 total sisters, 1 younger and then 2 older, and all of them were really, really close with one another. They were like the best of friends. It was August 17th, 1983, when unfortunate tragedy would strike the Perry family. At approximately 7 p.m. that night, Corinne left her home in CRESTON, Iowa, and she was to go to, I guess, a local coin-operated laundromat to do some laundry. She did this all the time, and it typically would take a couple of hours, and then she would be home. But on this particular occasion, after like 3 or 4 hours went by, Corinne never got home. You know, the mom, the family didn't really worry as much because, again, Corinne was really popular. There is a very good chance that she just drove to a friend's house after the laundromat and decided to hang out for a bit. This is before cell phones, and so they didn't really have this instant way of communicating with each other. I mean, I guess they could have called friends' houses, but you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just like a, hey, mom, be back later than usual. They didn't have that option. But then after another hour or 2 goes by, her mom becomes pretty worried. So she then calls her friends, Corinne's friends, any of the friends she may have gone to. None of them said they have talked to her or even seen her that evening, which then raised the alarm even more. Once midnight hit and Corinne still wasn't home, that's when they said, all right, we're calling the police. And they did so, and they reported her missing. Her mom was hoping that if the police were driving around, looking for her, that they would just find her driving around and say, hey, get home. Your family's worried sick about you. But that didn't happen. But when the police learned that the last place she was known to be at was that local laundromat, that's where police went first, once they initially got that phone call about the missing girl. And at the time, by the way, she's 17 years old. They go to the laundromat. Lo and behold, and kind of frighteningly, Corinne's car is in the parking lot. It's like one of the lone cars left there. They look inside the car and they see a stack of neatly folded clothing on the passenger seat. Missing from the car, however, was Corinne's purse, her keys, and Corinne. Corinne was nowhere to be found. There was no sign of any struggle inside the vehicle. There was no broken glass. There was no blood anywhere. There was no hair ripped out, no scuff marks. There was nothing unusual by her car or in her car. But then here's the thing, and this really pissed off the family, understandably so. Once they found her car and the police noticed her purse wasn't in there and her keys weren't in there, they decided for themselves, she's a teenage girl. She probably just took off with someone. She ran away. She'll be back, so we're done. They just stopped caring about this missing teenage girl. They made their decision about what happened to her. And this is something, especially back then, that happened a lot, where, police would just sort of assume something and then kind of just drop it. And Corinne's sisters and her mom and her friends were like, no, she did not run away. This was not something she's ever done before, ever. Why all of a sudden now? Why all of a sudden when she has such a bright future? She got accepted to the college she wanted to go to. She was so close to starting it. Why would she just pick up and leave? So since the cops weren't doing anything, Corinne's family and her friends, they decided, fuck it, we're gonna go look for her. So they get into their cars, they start driving around town. They're looking everywhere they can to see if they can find her, because police aren't doing crap. And then after about a week and a half or so goes by, they still haven't found any trace of her. No signs, no, she hasn't called, no one has seen her whatsoever. So they tell police, she still is missing. And they're like, oh, okay. Okay, well, we'll do something about it then. We'll start investigating this. So the first thing they do is they contact the local newspaper and the news stations and they say, listen, we have this 17-year-old girl who's missing. Let's put her picture everywhere. And that's what they do. They put her picture in the newspaper, all over the news, plastered everywhere. Have you seen her? Please come forward with any information. And this is when many witnesses would then come forward to tell police. We were at the laundromat that same night, the night that Corinne went missing. Many people came forward to say they saw Corinne at the laundromat like they had before in the past. She was just there doing laundry. The consistent consensus across the witnesses was that Corinne was there until about 8:30 p.m. or so, somewhere between 8:30 and 9. She was seen there folding her laundry by many people, and then they saw Corinne walking out with her laundry from the laundromat. And then these people, these witnesses, all pretty much said the same thing. They said they saw an unknown man following closely behind her out of the laundromat. But they didn't know if the two of them were together, if the two of them even knew each other, or if it was just a coincidence that this man was also walking out the same time as Corinne. It is apparently someone that none of them had seen before. They didn't recognize him. He wasn't someone who had been there many times or anything, so maybe not a local, not sure. He was described as a man in his mid-20s or so. He was approximately 6 foot tall. He had light brown hair, and he was wearing aviator-style glasses with light color plastic rims. He was wearing a tan jacket, and he too had laundry with him in a cardboard box, and he was walking out with it. So the police would then go to the public again through the form of newspapers and the news, and they would say, hey, if anyone recognizes the description of this man, if anyone knows who this man is, please come forward. They wanted to reiterate to the public that this man is not a suspect in any foul play, just we need to talk to him because he may have seen what happened to Corinne, or he may know something. That man never came forward. That man was never identified. On April 28th, 1983, and this is about a week and a half or so after she vanished, the CRESTON Police Department get a phone call from a person who says that they were driving across a bridge that was probably 7 to 8 miles or so away from the laundromat that Corinne was last seen at, And on that bridge, they found a purse. This witness did. This witness said they found the purse on that bridge the actual night that Corinne disappeared. However, because police hadn't put out any information about this missing girl for like a week and a half or so, they didn't know that this was a purse to a missing teenager. Regardless, I don't know why they kept the purse still, why they didn't just turn it in, but they kept it. And they told police finally that, okay, this is her purse because it had her stuff in it, her ID. It had her ID, so her driver's license, it had all of her makeup, it had her calling card, her glasses, and the glasses part is what really concerned people because Corinne had really poor vision and she could not do much without her glasses. If she needed to do something like driving, anything, that required, something required to see, she needed them. And so the fact that she had her only pair of glasses in that purse, knowing she does not have them wherever she is, that raised a big alarm. It also raised a big alarm to some of her friends, and this may sound silly, kind of, but the fact that all of her makeup was still in her purse. Her friends told police that Corinne was someone who didn't go anywhere without applying her makeup. And she wouldn't go anywhere without her makeup, just in case. So the fact that all of her makeup, along with her glasses, were in that purse, it just made it seem like something happened to her. Police determined that the purse was deliberately placed there on that bridge for someone to find, probably by someone who may have taken Corinne. It does not sound like they got any trace evidence off of the purse, like fingerprints or DNA. From what I understand, there's nothing on it. Once the CRESTON Police Department had that purse with all of her belongings in it, they had to basically say, okay, she's not a runaway. This is likely a missing persons case with suspected foul play. Yeah, no shit. The police try to justify it by saying, like, listen, we've had so many teenagers over the years get reported missing only to be found shortly afterwards because they ran away. And a lot of times it's because the teenager who you never would suspect for runaway ran away. And so that's why they didn't take this case so seriously. In my opinion, I don't think you should ever have that. It's just like, you got a missing child, you got a missing teenager, you got a missing person. Let's just treat it as if maybe they're actually missing. Because maybe you might actually save someone. Maybe you can recover them without the worst case scenario. If you just take it as a missing persons case right from the get-go. And then maybe you find out they're a runaway. Okay, great. But let's take it seriously at just right away. It's just so frustrating. By April 29th, the police department ends up getting the Iowa's DCI involved, the Division of Criminal Investigations. So they had their local police, they had state officials. They're now kind of joining together to investigate this. They're interviewing all of Corinne's friends, her family. They re-interview all the people from the laundromat. They get the description of this man again, but it doesn't lead them anywhere. It still doesn't find out who that man is. They had no trace evidence in her car or around her car. They had no evidence to collect apparently from her purse. They had nothing. They didn't have Corinne. And so they were at a dead end, basically. The bridge they found her purse on, I guess, was near a river. And so they began to start searching that river area to see if maybe there's a body. They then search a 20 to 25 square mile grid and the center point is that bridge. They find nothing. No bodies, no clothing, nothing. 10 days after Corinne vanishes, Corinne's father, Don Perry, he answers the phone at their house, and there was a soft-spoken female on the other end. And according to him, when he said hello, this female responded with, quote, "Corinne's 9 miles north of Osceola," end quote. And then they just hung up. So police go to that area that was described. They comb it for miles. Again, they don't find anything. So as police are actively investigating this and they're kind of doing their own searches, you know, her dad and mom and family are out there searching on their own. They get a bunch of, you know, photos printed off. They're handing them out to every single person they come into contact with. They're searching back roads. They're driving in throughout the woods. They're looking along the rivers, in the rivers. They're looking everywhere because they want to find her. Hopefully alive, but they just want to find her. On May 9th, the family announced that, hey, we have $2,500 that we will offer to anyone who can help bring Corinne home. If you know where she is and you successfully help us bring her home in whatever capacity that may be, we have this money for you. They got a couple of tips, but those tips led nowhere. On May 22nd, Corinne's high school, CRESTON High School, had its graduation. And 137 seniors graduated, and they said, you know, there should have been 138. There was one missing senior, and that was Corinne. As June and July come and go, they've searched those river areas again by the bridge. They search the surrounding area of the laundromat. They still have nothing. They then begin to realize maybe she's not in this direct area, so they start passing out or mailing out flyers and reaching out to other police departments in different states and saying, hey, please be on the lookout. And it doesn't lead to anything either. The months go by. They searched again and again and again and again, and Corinne has still not been found. There have been no more leads, no more tips, nothing. The man who was seen leaving the laundromat close by her has not been identified. No one's called to say who he is. They've got nothing. Corinne vanished into thin air. She was just gone completely. On September 17th, 1984, Corinne's mom, Barbara, gets a phone call at approximately 6 o'clock in the morning. It's from a man. The man says, can I please speak to Corinne? And she says, Corinne's not here. And then she says, how do you know her? He said, well, I just met her a couple days ago in CRESTON. And then she was like, wait a minute, what? And then he hangs up. So they go to police and talk, mention this phone call. And I guess they can't, I'm guessing they didn't know what the number was that called them. I mean, this is 1984 at this point, different times, but they never found out who that caller was. They never called back. They reached out to the public. Hey, if you made this phone call, please call us. They never did. They don't know if it was a prank call or what. November 3rd, 1984, two teenagers are out hunting, and they are near a creek, I guess, in Adams County in Iowa, and they stumble across what looks like a skeleton or some skeletal remains. So they immediately tell police. Police come, collect them, and they use Corinne's dental records because they suspect maybe this is her, and it is. Unbelievably, despite all of the searches they did in the grid searches by that bridge where her purse was found, and they never found her, it's pretty much where she was. She was literally just a mile from that bridge, and she was under some brush, I guess. They searched the area after they found her there for maybe trace evidence like clothing or anything, but they didn't find anything else other than her skeletal remains. It was not her complete remains. There were bones missing, which could account just for local wildlife taking them over the course of time. And because of this, they were never able to really discern what her cause of death was. There was no obvious injuries on her bones to indicate maybe she would have been stabbed or a broken bone. And all they could say is that they truly believe that this was a homicide, that this was a murder. They just don't know how. So this sort of this kind of brought the investigation back out into the watchful public eye, and they again put out the information about where she was last seen, the man that was last seen walking next to her. They reiterated, we still don't believe this man is, definitely a suspect, but he is probably the last person to have seen her, and so we need him to come forward. To this day, he still never has. No additional evidence has ever been recovered. No additional tips, leads, or witnesses have ever come forward, and the case stalled, and it's been stalled ever since. The case went cold, and they tried to reopen it in 2009 with a cold case team with fresh eyes, They looked at everything. Nothing. They've gotten nothing. Unfortunately, both of Corinne's parents have since passed away, never knowing what happened to their daughter. Her sisters are still alive, and they are still seeking justice. They are still fighting to find out who took her and who killed her and why and how. The last kind of update on this was from like 2020, like 2021 or so, when the DCI said, you know, we're hopeful that advances in technology can help us maybe pull DNA from something that we weren't able to pull DNA from before, because this was 1983, back before the technology really existed. And, you know, they're hopeful that maybe they can pull something off of the purse. Maybe they can pull something off of the clothes that were in her car. Maybe they can pull something off of the remains, something. They found like scattered pieces of her clothing kind of near her. Maybe they can pull something off of that. But as of right now, in October of 2023, there's been no updates on if they've done that and if they've been successful or not. Corinne Perry was just a 17-year-old girl with the brightest future ahead of her. She was probably going to be big in drama. She also was aspiring to work in psychology. But somebody took that away. Someone took Corinne from her family, her friends, from the world. That someone may still be out there. They may be in their 50s or their 60s, but they could very well still be out there. Somebody somewhere out there knows the truth about what happened to Corinne Perry on April 17th, 1983. Something happened to her just outside that laundromat. There is someone who was the last person to see her. If you are that man who followed out the laundromat next to her and you are not guilty of anything, please come forward. Please help in any way you can. But maybe he is the killer. Could be turn down some sort of sexual advance. Could be a failed robbery. It could be a number of motives, but it's not really known. But someone out there knows. At least one person does. Killers like to talk, so maybe at least two people know. If you have any information about the murder of 17-year-old Corinne Perry from Iowa, please contact the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation at 515-725-6010, or you can call the CRESTON Police Department in Iowa at 641-782-8402. And perhaps you can help Corinne Perry and her remaining family get the justice they rightfully deserve. But that is it for this case. True crime, Rooney Dooney Dingleberry Dongs. Hope you found it interesting. Like I said at the beginning, please subscribe here if you like true crime. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays is when I tell stories on here. Please follow me over on TikTok. All the information is in the description of this video below. Discord server, be over the age of 18. We sell merch. If it's a case you want me to cover, email me. Send me the name, where it happened, when it happened. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. Now, I will finish this video with some true crime ASMR. Did I do it right?